Before he became a global icon, Tupac Amaru Shakur was a child shaped by the fires of struggle and resilience. Born on June 16, 1971, in East Harlem, New York City, Tupac entered a world that was already turbulent. His mother, Afeni Shakur, was a fierce activist and former member of the Black Panther Party, a woman who fought not just for herself, but for an entire generation's right to live with dignity. While she was pregnant with Tupac, Afeni stood trial in a court case that could have sent her to prison for decades. She defended herself, and against all odds, she won her freedom just a month before Tupac's birth. Tupac's earliest memories were woven with lessons about injustice, pride, and survival. Poverty was a daily reality, but so was the richness of Black culture, pride, and the relentless hope for a better future. Afeni instilled in him a love for books, ideas, and the power of words. He read poetry, history, and political philosophy, even as he navigated the harsh realities of growing up without stable housing or a consistent father figure. Moving from New York to Baltimore and later to California, Tupac carried the weight of his mother's teachings with him. Baltimore, in particular, was a place of transformation. It was there he attended the Baltimore School for the Arts, where he blossomed as a young actor, rapper, and poet. The boy who had once watched his mother fight the system found his own voice, one that was raw, passionate, and destined to shake the world. In the shadows of poverty and political resistance, Tupac's spirit was forged. Every experience, every lesson, and every hardship became the foundation for the artist and the revolutionary he would soon become. At the Baltimore School for the Arts, Tupac found a world that welcomed his passion and sharpened his gifts. Surrounded by actors, musicians, and dancers, he thrived. It was here that his love for poetry blossomed, a love that became the heartbeat of his music. Underneath his tough exterior, Tupac was a young man who carried deep emotions, a soul constantly wrestling with pain, love, anger, and hope. He scribbled poems in notebooks, his words raw and filled with the contradictions of the world he lived in. Tupac wasn't just talented. He was magnetic. His teachers described him as a brilliant, intense student who could command attention with a single look. His friendships were deep, and his sense of loyalty was fierce. But even as he thrived artistically, poverty and instability followed him. His mother's struggles with addiction created a storm at home, forcing Tupac to grow up faster than any child should. In those years, Tupac's understanding of pain became deeply personal. He knew what it meant to go hungry. He knew what it meant to move from shelter to shelter, sometimes without a clear plan for future. But instead of breaking him, it fueled his dream to become a voice for those the world had forgotten. His early forays into rap weren't about fame. They were about truth. Tupac rapped about broken families, about police brutality, about dreams deferred. He wasn't trying to escape reality. He was trying to confront it head-on. By the time he moved to California, Tupac was no longer just a boy with a dream. He was a young prophet with a mission. His poetry had transformed into sharp, lyrical verses. His pain had become a message, and the world was about to hear it. When Tupac burst onto the national scene, he didn't just arrive, he exploded. As a member of Digital Underground, he first appeared as a backup dancer and rapper. But it didn't take long before his solo voice demanded center stage. His debut album, Tupacalypse Now, was raw and unfiltered, speaking truth to power in a way mainstream America wasn't ready for. Songs like Brenda's Got a Baby and Trapped painted vivid portraits of inner-city life, forcing listeners to confront the realities they often chose to ignore. Fame, however, was a double-edged sword. With the spotlight came controversy. Politicians attacked his music, blaming it for the violence in America's streets. Police departments condemned him, but Tupac didn't flinch. If anything, the criticism fueled his fire. He wore his defiance like armor, refusing to be silenced. As his fame grew, so did the chaos around him. Tupac found himself entangled in legal battles, physical altercations, and even a near-fatal shooting at a New York recording studio. Each headline painted him as a villain or victim, depending on who was telling the story. But through it all, he kept creating, releasing albums that mixed rage with vulnerability, revolution with poetry. His music became the voice of a generation that had been ignored and misunderstood. He rapped about systemic racism, poverty, police brutality, and personal betrayal. But he also wrote about love, dreams, and eternal hope for a better tomorrow. Tracks like Keep Your Head Up and Changes showed a man who, despite the scars, still believed in the power of change. Tupac wasn't perfect, and he never claimed to be. His life was a whirlwind of contradictions, thoughtful and reckless, kind and confrontational, visionary and flawed. But in every lyric, in every performance, there was authenticity. The world had all eyes on him, and Tupac made sure they saw everything. Tupac saw himself as more than just a rapper or an entertainer. He was a soldier in a war against injustice. He often described himself as the rose that grew from concrete, a living symbol of beauty and resilience born from impossible conditions. His life was a battle, and through his art, he declared that he would not be broken. Beyond the beats and rhymes, Tupac carried a deep sense of responsibility to awaken minds. He challenged the status quo fearlessly, speaking out against racial profiling, mass incarceration, poverty, and political corruption. In interviews, he wasn't just charismatic. He was electric, blending street wisdom with a fierce intellect. He urged young people to educate themselves, to fight back with knowledge, to change the system rather than be destroyed by it. Through his music and poetry, Tupac became a mirror for society's sins and a loudspeaker for its unheard cries. He often wrote from the perspective of those whose stories were invisible: single mothers, incarcerated brothers, young men swallowed by violence. Songs like So Many Tears and Me Against the World weren't just hits, they were testimonies. But fighting for truth came at a cost. As he rose, so did the forces against him. Betrayal by friends, media distortion, legal battles, and violence encircled him. Some of it was self-inflicted. Some of it was the inevitable price of speaking truth in a world that didn't want to hear it. Still, Tupac remained undeterred. He knew he was living on borrowed time, and he poured every ounce of urgency into his work. His mission was never about comfort or safety. It was about planting seeds of revolution, self-awareness, and love for the next generation to nurture and grow. Tupac's fight was not just for himself. It was for every soul struggling to break free from concrete. Behind the public persona of Tupac Amaru Shakur was a son, a man deeply connected to the love and struggles of his mother, Afeni Shakur. Their relationship was a cornerstone of his identity, and it influenced every decision he made. Afeni was more than just a mother. She was Tupac's first teacher, his rock, and his greatest inspiration. Tupac often spoke about his mother's strength and resilience. Despite the many hardships she faced, including a difficult past filled with activism, addiction, and poverty, Afeni instilled in him a deep sense of pride in his heritage. She was his greatest champion, always reminding him that he was capable of greatness, even when the world around him told him otherwise. Tupac's love for his mother ran deep. His most intimate and vulnerable songs, like Dear Mama, captured the complexity of their bond, a blend of admiration, pain, and love. In that song, he acknowledged both the sacrifices Afeni made and the mistakes they had endured. But in the end, it was clear, no matter the struggles, his love for her remained unwavering. The pressures of fame and constant media scrutiny took their toll on Tupac, but he never forgot where he came from. His desire to protect and provide for his mother, his relentless drive to give her a better life, pushed him forward even in the darkest times. Every move he made, whether on stage or in the streets, was a reflection of the values she instilled in him. Even in his final days, Tupac's heart was with his family. His love for Afeni transcended the noise of the world and the battles he faced in his personal life. Though the world may have seen him as a larger-than-life figure, to Afeni, he was always her son, the boy she raised to believe in himself, no matter the obstacles. Tupac's journey was ultimately a story of love. Love for his mother, love for his people, and love for the truth. His legacy wasn't just built on the music or the controversy. It was built on the heart and soul of a man who wanted nothing more than to see his people rise. Tupac's journey reminds us that greatness is born not from comfort, but from struggle. His voice, his fight, and his spirit continue to inspire generations to rise above circumstances and to speak their truth with courage. If this story has touched you, inspired you, or sparked something deeper within you, don't let it end here. Subscribe to the channel and join us for more powerful stories that move, challenge, and uplift the soul.